Hello there. The other day, one of my viewers mentioned that what I was using was a cursed schematic, meaning they didn't like the schematic and it's destined to fail. Well, everyone's allowed their own opinions, but I wanted to see how long this schematic would work. So this schematic you see here is just a schematic meant to be used in the first few levels of Mindustry. It's pretty basic. All you have is duos and some junction router combinations, kind of like your zipper setup. And in this schematic, we don't have any titanium. We don't need, we're going to pretend this is, again, the first few levels of Mindustry. We don't have advanced schematics, and yet we don't have containers to store extra ammo. So how do we maintain a good fighting system? So I'm going to go ahead and just start with a typical, typical loadout here. Feed up in some ammo to this and see how many waves this setup will be able to take. A lot of people might look at this and be like, oh no, it's got a whole bunch of routers that are going back and forth. This is going to slow it all down and it's not going to be very good. I don't think that's a problem in this case. The big problem I usually run into is running out of resources. And so I'm going to go ahead and just start with these basic drills and feed in some copper and see where we end up as how many waves we can go. Eventually, I'd like to get this once I get enough copper flowing to just let it go and see how many waves it can run on its own without me helping it. So go ahead and get this started. So that should give me some copper to work from. And while that's just mining, let me go ahead and feed some more ammo to these front lines. You see, a lot of the guns are not getting enough ammo, and so that's going to be the shortcoming here, right? I don't have a lot of drills feeding this. And without a lot of drills feeding this, it's going to eventually succumb to the problem that most front lines succumb to. And you think that it's, oh, I need more guns if I'm getting overrun. And frankly, running out of guns is rarely why I lose, right? If your guns are taking damage or are not able to fire, your defense is just not doing a good job. So here, the benefit of this design is that it stores a lot of its ammo right inside there, right? So I need to go ahead and block off this other side. And in this case, I think I'm going to run into problems with air units. This isn't designed to have air units coming from a different direction. You should be using your scatters for that. So I'll probably put a few scatters on this side over here just to give me a little bit of a buffer here while since I'm not really here to test the scatters, because we know scatters do their job, right? Kind of expensive in copper here, so see what I can build here. If I could put a power thing out here, I could get all of the anti-air to come attack this spot. Maybe that's what I'll do. Alright, so you can see here that the ammo is backed up. That means it's filled up into here. I fed this into the wrong direction, so actually that was my bad. So let me feed it down the other side. You see only half of the guns have bullets. Well, that's why you need the zipper pattern, so that gets you bullets down the whole design. Now, yeah, since this is based on what you would have in the first few levels of the game, I'm not sure you would even have the menders. You might be able to get that. Let me look at the mender. Menders, I think, require... No, they're just copper and lead. So you could probably get menders pretty early on in the game. So maybe I'll feed in some power to this. Since we don't want to limit ourselves to not having the ability to repair our front lines. Granted, we could always just put new walls down. If your first level, you're just going to have the mechanical drill. Pretty soon after that, you get the pneumatic drill, and so like I said, I'll go ahead and start with this. But now that I got a little bit of graphite here, I'll go ahead and upgrade those drills. I won't upgrade the conveyor belts to titanium can see how much more material I'm feeding into here. Again, why am I feeding all this material in? Feeding all this material because the shortcoming is not the number of guns, it's the ability to feed ammo to the guns. Okay. So by storing the ammo in the conveyor belt and in these junctions, I have a much better defense. Okay. So at this point, I'm just kind of waiting for the enemies to come. I don't really need to wait, so I'm just gonna go and advance it. My conveyor belts are full, so who cares? Okay. So here they come. You can see. Ideally, you'd want this to be able to defend 25 waves. That's what you would have in a low campaign level, right? And so long as you can beat 25 waves, then I think this is a success. This is a stick it down, forget that you need to worry about it. Okay. So far, my guns all still have ammo. There's no red ones. Okay, now there's the first 2 red there. So that's because I'm keep clicking next wave, and I'm not giving it time to refill the whole system. So by letting it have a few seconds here to catch up, that'll give me some time to, like, that'd be your regular 25 waves, right? You'd have 2 minutes between every wave, and you'd have plenty of time to reload your guns. Okay. Right. So another thing that the person might have had wrong with that design is that it costs a lot of copper. And there's better guns than just the duo guns. So, you know, that's totally valid. I personally do not like duos. They're really slow and bad and just not great. But, you know, I don't think most anybody likes duos for much of anything. Because they're meant to be the first 2 levels of the game, and you forget, oh yeah, there's duos. That's an option. All right, we're already at wave 7. Now, I don't know how well this matches up with the campaign, this custom level. I just want to see how many levels can I beat. And this, I assume, has pretty close to what you'd have in like a typical low difficulty level, which is what you'll be fighting at the beginning of the game. All right, so let's see. Now we're starting to get these tier 2 units. Now, tier 2 units might appear in the latter end of a low, but this is still able to handle the situation just fine, right? Again, we have 2 guns up here that are starting to run out of ammo, and just if I give it time, those will feed up and will fill up. The reason why they're not full yet is because it has to feed all the rest of these guns and make sure that everything is full. This whole system here holds about 270 extra rounds inside it. Now, if you compare that to if we just did routers, you would end up with like 50, 1 for each, because a router only holds 1 item in it, right? And so if you only have 1 item in each of them, that's not very much backup ammo. Now, if you have 250 and you can feed from 2 different directions, well, I say feed from 2 different directions. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. A duo only has 1, in this case, 1 direction that it's feeding from. But if it needs to feed, say these guns up here are starting to get empty, there's 2 feeds that can go up to refill them, because there's 2 rows. And there's actually, it can go in a circle, and so it can feed and refill a lot. Now people say, oh, that's a bad thing because it's slowing down the ammo. And I'd say, not really. It's fast enough. It's refeeding all the guns. Here we are. We have 30 seconds left, and we are already full. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Next wave, 10 enemies. Another design about this is by having some of the guns sticking back, they don't have to shoot while the front guns are shooting, so you don't overkill as much. So this is a problem with this design, is that these menders are probably not the best placed. In fact, if I moved it 1 to the right, 1 up and 1 down, that would be a much better spot. So I can see that needs to be improved a little bit. All right, but we're pretty good on ammo. This is going a little slow here, but again, these are basic conveyor belts. They're not meant to be fast. They do their job. Right, like right here, I've got so much ammo, I can't get enough of it down. So this is where using bridges all the way would be better, because bridges work at the speed of titanium. Conveyor belts. So as long as you have a steady stream of bullets here, you're gonna be fine. Now you say, well, any defense would be good if you have a steady stream of bullets. Well, yeah, but by having multiple feeds, in this case the zipper pattern here, you get twice as much output as you would if you had one conveyor belt. In fact, I'd say you get more than twice. I'd have to do some measurements on it, but I think with this design and the fact that it will send things in a circle and loop around and make sure that everything gets packed and there's bullets in all directions, you get a lot more concentration, right? So here we are, we're at wave 12. Still, and as long as you keep an eye on your fence, on your front wall here, I still am not really running out of ammo that much. I've got 3 duos up there that have run out of ammo, and I'm recharging. Again, there's just one copper wall. If I move this up there, yeah, that'll be fine. If you had some repair guys, they could fly up and repair that automatically. I mean, this isn't about ready to fall. I mean, this copper wall might die. In fact, I might let it just to see how much damage it does. Now, I clicked that 30 seconds too soon. We didn't get all of our bullets loaded up here. And the bad guys are starting to curve around. Right? So let's give it a good 42 minutes. Actually, 2 minutes between waves, just to let it refill everything. Alright, so there we are at wave 15. They finally busted through the wall here. They've killed one of the duos. This corner they were destroyed a little bit ago. But overall, I think if you're doing it 2 minutes at 2 minutes per wave, and you have 15 waves, so the first wave is 4 minutes. That's 30 minutes that this single design was able to hold without taking too much damage. And if I don't have to babysit my front wall with 30 minutes, I can build quite an impressive economy on the backside. And then come up here with units, build additional layers of defense. But I'd say this holds pretty good for your first little bit. Granted, it was about 2,000 copper to start off with, to just go ahead and lay this. But it's did pretty good, I would say. I'll go ahead and just do another wave here and see. Once they get past this, I'll say this thing has failed. The point is, I don't want to have to come back and bother with the defense while I'm building my economy, because it just distracts me from what I'm trying to do here. Right? Okay, that wave was pretty good. Just gotta reload here. You know, I think it takes 2 minutes. I'll just go ahead and skip it. Now with this, every other wave tends to be a little bit less. One's strong, one's weak, so it's not as impressive in some of these waves. And again, some of the wave is anti-air. Those aren't there just to... So these guys here, these lightning guys, are probably going to be the death. Because they are pretty tough. They can probably walk right. Here we are. That is the end right there. Okay? So after 18 waves, which is about, normally would be about 36 minutes or so, the computer was able to make it through here. But that's still pretty good. I'd say 30 minutes of not having to worry about the enemy while you build up an economy and build up units and do other things. I think it's a pretty good win. So anyway, what do you think? Is this a cursed schematic? Are there better ones? Yes. But is this good enough for, you know, the first few levels of Mindustry? I'd say it's pretty good. Anyway, that's all I had for you today. Take care.